Hello and welcome to BioRules video lessons. Today we are going to keep talking about biomes. Specifically, we are going to be seeing how the nutrients can be stored and transferred in different places in these biomes. Okay? The focus of this lesson is going to be tropical rainforests. It's going to be the boreal forests, also known as taiga, and it's going to be the desert. So we're going to be seeing an example of a way of visualizing nutrients into biomes, and we're going to be using these three biomes as our examples. The name of this way of visualizing nutrients is called Gershmel diagrams, and it assumes that there are three reservoirs of nutrients. One, biomass, the amount of nutrients that's located into the body of the living things, especially into the bodies of plants. So you can have quite an amount of nutrients into the body of living organisms. The living organisms, especially the trees, they may lose leaves, and this is called littering because it creates a litter. The litter is the dead leaves that can cover the soil. The litter is a depository of nutrients. You can find nutrients where you have a litter over there. The litter, however, can receive nutrients, when the rain washes one area to another area. So you can get nutrients into the litter when you have rain bringing it, but it can also make a surface runoff, taking the nutrients from the litter and washing it away from the environment to another environment, for example, to a river. Okay? But the most common way that litter gets away is by decomposition. So litter, dead material, gets decomposed, and this decomposition gives material, nutrients, to the soil. So the soil is the third repository of nutrients in an ecosystem. Okay, so when the material that was released by decomposition mixes with the sand, the compost, then you have the soil. The soil can also serve leaching, so washing out nutrients from it. So it happens, for example, when you have a washing of the soil that have been exposed by a fire and the nutrients go away for a river. You can also have weathering when parent rock breaks down and they give new nutrients to the soil. So that's one way of giving nutrients to the soil. And also you can have plant uptake because the plants, they take nutrients from the soil and they take it back to put it in biomass. So this is a diagram that illustrates the three depositories of nutrients and the flow between these nutrients. How can that be useful for us? If we take a look on a biome, for example, the taiga has a reasonable biomass. Many trees are over there. So these trees have biomass, but these trees, they lose leaves, so they make litter. And the fact is that the litter is quite big in a taiga, in a coniferous forest. Not because the pine trees lose too many leaves, but because the leaves, they don't go away very easily. Okay? So the litter is the biggest depository of nutrients in a taiga, in a coniferous forest. Very little goes in, very little goes out, and very little is decomposed. You have very little decomposition because it's simply too cold. Decomposers don't manage to break down the nutrients that are in the litter, so the litter stays there. You have a fluffy matrix of litter under the trees over there. So the soil is poor, not much nutrients in there. The soil also loses very little, receives very little by weathering, and gives a little bit to the plants. So overall, you have a slow rate of nutrients transfer between each of the stores in a taiga, in a coniferous forest. And the bigger depository is the litter. Let's take a look on another one, desert. Desert have very small biomass. There's not many plants, much life growing there. Not because of temperature. In this case, it's because of water. There's not enough water for plants to be growing and growing and growing. But whatever grows in there eventually dies. And when it dies, it makes part of the litter. But because it's very hot, you have a little bit getting in, a little bit get out, but you have also decomposition. So a little bit of what dies goes back to the soil. And the soil then is the biggest depository, because not many plants get material from the soil. Whatever gets dies and go to the litter that goes to the soil back again. So the soil is going to be the biggest depository of nutrients in a desert. And additionally, the turnover between these different repositories is small, with the exception of littering. Littering is quite high because things grow, things die, and they litter. Okay, so you have a low rate of nutrients transfer between stores, with the exception from the biomass to the litter. And finally, our favorite here in Brazil, the tropical rainforest. Tropical rainforests have a massive amount of nutrients in the biomass. We have many trees, big trees, sub-trees, sub-bosque. We have lots of plants in there, so lots of biomass. Yes, they lose leaves. Okay, there is lots of rain bringing material, making no litter, but there's also material going away with the rain. But there is quite a big amount of decomposition because it's hot, because it's moist. So you form soil back again. But the soil doesn't stay there for much, because the soil gives nutrients, a lot of nutrients, to the biomass that's growing above it. Okay? There is also loss from the soil by washing. There is also weathering, getting nutrients to the soil. So the characteristic here is that the biomass is the main store in a tropical rainforest. The soil is the smallest, it's poor, and you have a very fast rate of transfer between the stores. So that is the characteristic of a tropical rainforest. Okay, so this is the Gershmel diagram. I hope you manage to understand how it works and to be able to identify these three different biomes according to the three stores and the rate of flow in between them. Okay, now you have a quick quiz over here with a few questions just to see if you are paying attention. Have fun.